What's up everyone? Today we are going to build together a little application, a Notepad application, and I know that we already did this before, but this time we are going to use some beautiful features like authentication with refresh and access tokens on the backend, provided from the backend. So the application is going to be a full stack one. We are going to use Django in the back and React for the frontend, so the best technologies in my opinions. Now, how we can do it? Firstly, we want to make possible the authentication process. So we are going to start with the backend, and I'm going to show you how to make some CRUD operations on the user, so you can get used to the REST framework and get used with the Django backend. So the authentication is going to be made with some refresh and access tokens that we are going to talk about in the future. Firstly, let's just create our backend. So we can cd into the desktop, open a terminal, whatever, and we are going to create a virtual environment. So virtual environment is just going to represent a little folder where we are going to add all of our installations. So you can just say virtual env and make a name. But first let's create a folder. So make dir, we can call it project notepad. Let's cd into the project notepad, because this virtual env, this make dir created a folder right here. Now we cd into the folder, and now let's create the virtual environment, virtual env, and let's just call it env. Now if we try to search into the folder, we should find a folder named env, which is going to have all of our installations. So we need to activate it. So env dash scripts dash activate. And now if you can see into the left, you should be having some brackets with the name of the environment. As I said before, it's just a little folder where it's going to contain all of our dependencies. So now, because we are in the environment, we can hit pip install Django. So this is going to install the Django into our environment so we can use it. Django is a really popular framework for the backend. It's going to provide us with a lot of features. Now we can say Python and Django-admin start project and backend. We can call it backend. And now in all folder we should see a backend folder with the manage.py and another folder with the same name. Just follow the steps and everything is going to be fine. Don't get scared about the folders that got just created. So let's go to the project notepad, and we have a folder env and backend, and I want to cd into the backend. Now hit view explorer, and you can see the manage.py. This is just the basic configuration of the Django. If you go into the folder, we are going to see settings.py, which is, as I said, the basic configuration of the Django. And this got created because we hit the command django-admin start project and whatever. Now you need to understand that a backend is going to contain a lot of different folders. So we are going to call them apps. Let's imagine that we are building Facebook. It's going to be having a profile app, a user app, publicity app, posts apps. So the Facebook is divided into more parts. We are going to have more apps here too. So we are going to have the app where we are going to write the logic for the users, the app where we are going to write the logic for the, as I said, for the notepad, and so on. So we need to create the first app. So you can just say Python manage.py start app, and we can call it, let's say, users app. But firstly we need to be cd into the backend, and now Python manage.py startup users app. So you need to be into the main directory, so the main backend folder. This created another folder with some basic files right here, py files, because it's Python. Don't get scared, everything is going to be understandable in the future. In the settings, we need to register that folder, so Django needs to know that we created an app and it needs to be configured, so the application knows about it. So we need to go into the users app and go into the apps and provide the path to this class. So this class is going to be something like, hello, my name is users app and I'm going to be part of your application. So it's just a way to configure it. So we need to go into the folder users app, into the apps.py, and then into this class. And now we configure the fact that this folder is providing some features in our backend. Okay, if we run the server, so python-py run server, this is going to start the development server. You can just copy it and add it into the Google or whatever search stuff you have. And this is the main page of the Django. Okay, so in the users app, in the models, we want to create the user model. So how we want the user to look like. But the Django already has a way of adding the user, but this time we are going to create it ourselves. So we can make a class named user, or let's call it profile. And this profile is going to be inherited from models, that model. And why? We are going to do this because this is named inheritance. So we inherit a folder models and the class model. So we inherit this class, and this class is going to give us a lot of features. So we just want to inherit it, and you are going to see the features right now. In Django, classes are going to represent our database models. So a user, so profile, I want to have an email, which is going to be models that email field. So as I said, we are going to have these features because we inherited from the model. I want this to be false. So blank, false, null, false means the fact that we really want to not allow a user to have a profile without an email. Okay, besides an email, I want to have, let's say, an image. We can have an image, whatever, why not? Models that image field. This can be true, so we can have a profile without an image. Besides an image, let's say we can have the number of nodes, but we can just count that. So this is going to be our profile for now, and I'm just going to save it. So because we made changes into our application, we need to say python manage.py make migrations. This is going to make some, just a second. Okay, so to use the image field, we need to run python manage.py python pip install below. This is going to be installed into the old environment too. Okay, right now we can say python manage.py make migrations. This migration, what did, it's saying that, okay, we created a class named profile. The ID is going to be added automatically, and the fields are email and image. Okay, and now we need to save those changes. Python manage.py migrate. And now in our database, we are going to be able to create profiles. Let's try and run the server. Run server. And now if you go to our server, we are going to have a path named admin. And to be able to log into this admin, we can say python manage.py create super user. This is going to create a user for us. Okay, let's run the server again and connect right here. Okay, and from what you can see, we cannot really see the profile that we created, so the profile model, but because we need to register it to the page. So from the folder that we created, the profile is named models. So from models, we need to import the profile and we need to register it to the site. So let's say admin that site that register and profile. And now if I go again and hit a refresh, we can see the profile and we can manually create profiles. So let's say we can just create a profile, we can add image, but right now I'm not going to add images. So this is the first profile from our backend. We can add another one, profile 2. We can add another one. Okay, so we have like three users like right now. in our backend, and I want them to have more prettier names, so we can search them by a prettier name. And how we can do this is just go to the class and say def string self. So we need to return self.email. So now each profile is going to be represented by its email. So you can see that it's not an object, it's an email. Okay, but what we can see, we already have a user model right here, and this is default by Django. Okay, and I want to make a relationship between those. So the Django provides us with a class named user, which is having basic fields like username, email, password, and we want to extend that user so we can add image as an example, or whatever new stuff we want to add. Let's say we can add something like let's say that we are going to add to-dos, and every to-do is going to have a limit, and we can have a number of points. So let's say points is going to be a model that float field. We can say that it's going to be null. And again, we created changes. We need to hit python mesh.py make migrations and python mesh.py migrate. So the migrations created the specifying that the profile is now having a different field name points, and the migrate is going to save it or database. And now if I run again the server and we go to our browser and to the profile, we are going to see that the profile now is having the points field too. Okay, but the user is not having so many stuff, so we can add the user, and it's having username, password, and password confirmation, and we can extend this user so we can make relationships. This user model is created by Django, the same as we created this profile one, and we can import this. So from Django.out models, let me just contrib, sorry, that models import user, and now this user is just a regular class which is containing username, password, and password confirmation. So we have two, let's call them ways of creating data in our backend. So we can create profiles and we can create users, but I want them to have a relationship. So user, I want to be able to have a profile, and the profile to have a user. So I want a relation here. So let's say that the Robbie should have a Robbie profile, and we can say that every profile is going to have a one-to-one relationship with the user. So user is going to be equal to, so a new field models that one-to-one field user. This is going to be false, and on delete equal models dot the cascade. So if we delete the user, we want to delete the profile too. So this profile is going to have a user as a relationship, and if we are going to delete that user, we want to be able to delete the profile too. Now because we made changes, we can say python mesh.py make migration is going to give some errors because we already created some profiles, and now we are saying that a profile cannot exist without the user. So we can just say true for the moment. So now migration and migrate. We can run the server again. And now if we go to the profile, we can see that for each profile we can choose a user. So let's create a profile let's say that I have 30 points and I want this profile to be the user profile. So this user is going to have this specific profile. Okay, so this is how we created a relationship. So now in our database, this profile robbie@yahoo.com is going to have a relationship with this profile user, with this user. Okay. Now, because we created this configuration, let's create the models for our nodes. So again, I want to explain everything. In the models file, we are creating the classes. A class is a representation of our objects in our database. Those objects can have relationships. So the profile can be in a relationship with the user. But one profile is going to have only one user, and one user is going to have only one profile. This is why we call it one-to-one field. So we just specified the fact that the profile is going to have an email, an image, a number of points, and a user in a relationship. That's all. And from what you have seen, the user is already created by Django. It's containing username, password, password2. And the profile is created by us and is in a relationship of one-to-one with the user. So I'll repeat once more. A profile is going to have only one user, and a user is going to have only one profile. Now I want to create the possibility to have the nodes. So we need to create another app. Start app, and let's call it Notepad app or notes app. So now this is going to create another folder, notes app, and the same, we need to register this in our installed app. So we need to go into the notes app, into the apps, and then we need to go into the notes app config. Okay, now we have registered this notes app folder, and let's do the same. Into the models, we are going to create how a node is going to look like. So need to inherit it from the model class, so it's going to have the jar field and so on. So a node is going to have a name, so this is going to be a models that char field. We can give a max length of 50, blank false, null false. I don't want to have a node without a name. It can have a description. This is going to be bigger, so text field, blank false, null false. I want a little description, and as I did before, I want a node to be visible into our database by name. Okay, what's the idea now? A node needs to have a user. So each node that is going to be created in our database is going to have a parent user. So a node is created by a user or by a profile. Let's say that a node is created by a user. This node needs to have that relationship. So we can import that user model that Django created. So from Django.contrib.out.models, import user. And a node is going to have a relationship. So it's going to have a user. But you need to understand that one user can have more nodes, not just one. So this is not going to be a one-to-one, because a user can have more nodes. You can add more to dos. So the relationship is not going to be one-to-one, but we are going to specify that one node is going to be related with the user. So models, that foreign key. And the field is user, blank false, null false, on delete models.cascade. If we delete the user from the database, I want to delete all the nodes that it's related. This is what models.cascade does. And the node can have a timestamp, so time equal to or expire date equal to models.date time field auto know true and create date models.date time field auto know at true. So this is going to be something like, if we create a node, we are going to save the date that we created, and if we update a node, update date. If we update a node, every time we want to change this field. So every time a node is going to get updated, this field is going to be updated too, but this field is going to have attributed a value only on the creation of the node, but this time on every update. And as I said, expire date, it is going to be provided by us, so it's just going to be a date time field blank for now. So blank true, null true. A node can be expiring. Okay. Now if we hit Python manage.py, make migrations, and then so this created a migration folder. Again, a node is going to be having an ID created by default, a name, description, update, create, expire date. This is what migrations have done. And now we can just hit Python manage.py migrate, and this applied these changes. Let's run the server again, and if I go to the admin, we cannot see the node. Why? Because we need to register it. So if we go to the admin, from models import node admin.site.register node, and now we can see it right here. Let's add one. So add node. So the node, I don't know, wash dishes, blah blah blah. Description, don't forget to wash your dishes. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce this. And expire date, I will just hit something random here. And if you see here, we have to specify the user that should have this node. Save. Okay, let me just add something here too. Now a user is going to have a profile, and every node is going to be related to a user. So we created some relationship. Let's create another user. Random user, random user, random user 22. Save. Okay, just add a little password here. Save. So now we have another user name random, and we can create a profile or attribute a profile for it. So random name is going to be the profile for the random user. Let's create some nodes. Wash car, please do it. We can just hit something like this here, and this is going to be for the Robbie. Save. And now Robbie is having two to-dos from what you can see. And let's do another one. Go to school, please go to school. This is going to be for the other user, and you can create another one. Subscribe, do not forget. And this is going to be for the random user too. Okay. And that's it for this video. So now we just created the basic configuration, the models, so we can create relationships. So right now we are having the user provided by the Django, the nodes, and the profile. A user can have a profile, only one, and the profile only one user. From what you can see here, it's not allowing me to choose another one. And the nodes, each node is going to be related for users, so it's going to be attributed to a user. Hope you enjoyed the video. We are going to continue it next time. See ya there.